Here is what this did to attention at a structural level. Gloria Mark at UC Irvine found that the average focus span collapsed from 2.5 minutes in 2004 to 47 seconds by 2019. But the deeper finding was what happened after an interruption. It took an average of 23 minutes for a person to fully return to a complex cognitive task after being pulled away from it. In a world where the average person checks their phone 96 times a day, sustained deep thinking has become structurally impossible for most people most of the time. This was not a side effect. Researchers at the Center for Humane Technology documented internal memos from multiple platforms showing that engineers knew their products were reducing attention capacity, increasing anxiety, and amplifying social comparison. They shipped the features anyway because engagement metrics went up. India is the world's largest market for short-form video consumption. The average Indian smartphone user spends over 4 hours per day on their device. A generation that should be building the cognitive infrastructure for a knowledge economy is instead having its attention systematically harvested and sold to advertisers at a profit margin that makes traditional industry look primitive. The attention economy does not want you distracted. Distraction implies you had focus to begin with and temporarily lost it. What the attention economy wants is something more complete. It wants your baseline state to be one of constant low-level stimulus seeking. It wants you to find silence uncomfortable. It wants unstructured time to feel like deprivation. It wants the idea of sitting alone with your own thoughts for 20 minutes to feel genuinely difficult. For hundreds of millions of people, it has already succeeded. Nir Eyal spent years writing the definitive manual for how to build habit-forming products. He called it Hooked. The book became required reading inside every major technology company. It laid out a 4-stage cycle: trigger, action, variable reward, investment that was explicitly modeled on behavioral addiction research. The companies that implemented it most effectively now have billions of users who open their apps an average of dozens of times per day without making a conscious decision to do so. You are not weak. You are not undisciplined. You were targeted by some of the most sophisticated behavioral engineering in human history, deployed by companies with access to more data about your psychology than any government or institution has ever had about any population. The attention heist did not happen all at once. It happened one notification at a time, one autoplay at a time, one algorithmically optimized feed refresh at a time, until the architecture of your daily cognitive life had been quietly rebuilt around a system designed to profit from your inability to look away. You woke up this morning certain you were in control of your own mind. That certainty was the product, and someone sold it. You are absolutely certain you are in control of what you pay attention to. That certainty is exactly what they counted on. In the late 1990s, a small group of engineers at some of the most well-funded technology companies in the world were given a single mandate: not to build useful products, not to connect people, to capture attention and hold it for as long as physically possible. They did not guess their way to this. They used neuroscience. B.J. Fogg at Stanford University had spent years building what he called a science of persuasion technology. His persuasive technology lab trained a generation of engineers in the precise mechanics of how human behavior could be shaped through interface design. Variable rewards, progress indicators, social validation loops. Every psychological lever that researchers had identified over decades of behavioral science was systematically engineered into the product sitting on your phone right now. The key insight was dopamine, not the dopamine of reward, the dopamine of anticipation. The uncertainty is the mechanism. This is why the slot machine is the most profitable machine ever built. And this is precisely why the feed was designed to never end, never resolve, and never satisfy. Tristan Harris worked inside Google for years as a design ethicist. What he saw was a competition between every technology company on the planet for a single finite resource: human attention. 2 billion people, 24 hours each. The companies that captured the most of those hours won the most money, and the science of capturing those hours had become extraordinarily precise. Harris called it a race to the bottom of the brainstem. The lower you go in the brain, the more ancient the circuitry, the easier it is to hijack. Fear, outrage, tribal belonging, sexual attention, these are not modern psychological constructs. These are survival systems that evolved over millions of years, and they can be triggered algorithmically with a precision that no human social interaction has ever achieved. Roger McNamee was one of the earliest investors in Facebook. In 2019, he published Zucked, a detailed account of how the platform's engagement algorithms were optimized not for connection, but for emotional activation. The posts that spread fastest were not the most accurate or the most useful. They were the ones that triggered the strongest emotional response. Outrage spread 6 times faster than any other emotion across the platform. The algorithm did not cause this accidentally. It was measuring for it.